Five, four, three, two, one. This is the Jedi 08, also known as Jeremy the Jedi Guillory here. And my partner, my co host, Mike, Classic Mike, is not in today. So we are starting a little bit later than I would like to, but it's 4th of July weekend. It is what it is. We missed out last week due to personal issues. So yeah, might as well just get back in the groove of things. Don't need to miss out anything any more than what I've had to. Don't need to miss out any more than what needs to be done. I'm the only one recording. Of course, Mike does the co-hosting, so um, he cannot record himself. He doesn't have that software yet or anything. So obviously, I'm going to have to do the recording. I wasn't in the capability of actually doing that last week. Um, was still in the middle of debating on what the topic should be, um, and was still in the middle of debating it. Was thinking about doing it yesterday on July 4th, but we weren't able to actually do that. Had so much going on there. Mike had to work and things. He said that he wasn't going to be able to do it this week anyway. Probably going to see about tomorrow, see if we can do a follow up episode tomorrow. So there's that update on what's going on with our podcast and everything that's going on with us right this moment. And this moment is as of July 5th at 7:22 p.m. Got a lot of stuff on our plates right now. Got a lot of catching up to do. Um, what's going to talk about things like Night Champions. Going to talk about King of the Ring. Um, Controversies like that. Not in the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Heel versus face. Can't do that. Any of that without Classic Mike because he knows more about what's going on. So next week we may be talking about Saturday Night Main Event. It depends on when it is. I think it is this next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check and make sure. But if it is, we're going to be talking about that. Just go ahead and get it out of the way. Um, so can't really talk about non-Hall of Fame and things. So I decided, let's steer. This is a podcast. This is a podcast. And my knowledge and expertise goes beyond just wrestling. Yes, I know this is a wrestling podcast. Yes, I am a big wrestling fan. Yes, I'm very knowledgeable and perversed in the sport of wrestling and everything. But as I said before, in all the shorts, we're not just going to be doing wrestling. I named the interview No Topics Barred for a reason. A big, fat, ugly reason. It's because so that we don't just talk to wrestlers. We talk to celebrities. We talk to athletes. We talk to everyone else. The person that we're going to be talking about today, I don't believe ever had anything to do with wrestling, but with football. We could do Marcus Dupree, though, but I don't think that it's going to give us due service or justice to just do it on him without bringing him on. I know him personally. He went to Philadelphia High School, and when I left Philly in 2005, he became one of the security guards there. Got to meet him, got to interact with him. Really great guy. Okay, I can't say anything negative about him. He has done some wrestling in the past, and things, local wrestling and everything else. So we can talk about him. But on Friday morning, I was just scrolling around Facebook, and on my news feed came a person on my feed, and they were talking about this being a anniversary of him, and I looked into it, and I was like, wow, I know about this event that happened. We can definitely talk about it on the podcast. I don't know what all Classic Mike would have to say about it, but I do know what I would have to say about it. And it happened. Most of the events have been so close to me personally that I still have contacts with the person's family a lot. And the person that we're going to be talking about today is Mr. Steve Air McNair. So let's get started here. Steve McNair was born in Mount Olive, Mississippi on February 14th, 1973. And he was a quarterback in high school, college, and NFL. And in high school, he was All American, had all top honors there. He played basketball, football, track, all these different sports, baseball. He was even drafted by Seattle Mariners in 1991. That's how athletic he was. But he went on to college, went to Alcorn University, which was an all black school at the time, and he just dominated. He was an all pro athlete in a D1, D2 or 3 school at that time. So there's, um, you could just imagine how dominant he was. He was running the ball, he was throwing the ball like crazy, just overall domination, swept his rivals every single year. People would just come out just to go see him play at those 4 years. Then his senior year, he was in line for the Heisman. He finished third in the Heisman, which is huge, knowing on where the school was that he went to and how small the school was. Finishing third in that small of a school for the highest college award is massive to do. And that's what led him to be picked number 3 overall in the 1995 draft. Um, so go on to the next year. He is going into the Houston Oilers as a rookie quarterback, and he's got some competition. He really did. Um, there was another quarterback that had a big Cinderella story as well, that was finishing up his career, Warren Moon. Um, so the first couple seasons he was learning under him, and um, basically being a backup. They would share in starts and everything. So they they wanted to have them both start around the same time because Steve McNair was really that good at passing the ball and playing quarterback. So there there's as a coach's perspective, when you have really two really good players like that, you need to be balanced as possible. See what the rookie can do and see what the veteran can do. See who's better. And the best way to do that is in the game scenarios overall. So Jeff Fisher, that's exactly what he did for those first few years. Um, Steve McNair did have a very fun, amazing rookie year, good sophomore year, and third year he was starting full time practically. Um, so yeah, by that time Warren Moon had left or retired, whatever. So there was no one to compete against him. He was their guy. He was their guy, and he was in line for MVP several years there with Tennessee, and um, he made it to the Super Bowl in '99, and he threw the story to the Super Bowl is that he was down, I believe, about 6 or 7 points. He throws the last Hail Mary pass to Dyson. Dyson catches it, and he ends up being tackled 1 yard short. So they lose the Super Bowl all because of a yard, and he never goes back. He never went back. He came close several times, but nothing beat that year. In 1990, sorry, not in 2003, he became co MVP with Peyton Manning. People thought that he was going to go to the Super Bowl that year, but he faltered out in the playoffs. Um, so yeah, yeah, and then a few years later, he does good. He keeps up his momentum, and then he's like, "Man, I'm tired of playing for Tennessee. I'm gonna go to the Ravens." So he goes to the Ravens. He plays a few years there. Decent, moderate success. They still have winning seasons, and then in 2006, 2007, winning records. Um, Decent appearances, and come the 2008 season, he decides to retire. They pick up Joe Flacco, and we all know the rest with that. Um, so 2008, he decides to retire, and Tennessee struggles. They'd go and draft Vince Young at that point, and they have been exactly where they've been since then, practically since. So on down to his post career, it's very short. Um, there's really not much going on there. He had a business with his friend from college. They ran a business in Memphis at that time. His friend owed him some money, and he decided the reason why he wanted to retire was spend time with his family, with his kids, and with his wife. And those it gets very rocky and murky after that announcement, because there's really not much really said about him spending time with his wife during that 1 year. There's not much being said. I was able to speak to some of his sons over the years about it, and they said that yes, he did go to the their games that last year of his life. Yes, he did do several other things with them, um, but it just gets very rocky and murky after that. because he was doing his business ventures, he was doing his um, other ventures, and one day he meets some a young woman that would change the rest of his life, the remaining portion of his life. Um, so he met a 20-year-old woman. He bear in mind he did retire at age 35, so 15 years apart. He met a 20-year-old Shahil Jenny Kazemi, and they pretty much hit it off almost instantly. Um, and he started buying her things. He bought her a new car, bought her a condominium, an apartment complex, all these different things using the money from his NFL pension and his retire and his business ventures. So, with that being said, that she had a little bit of legal trouble during that time. Yes, he was still married. Yes, he was still running around with her um, during that whole year, and she knew he was married. I mean, everyone knew that he was married, and it was no red flags. The problem was that many of his kids nor his wife knew about what happened until uh, what he was doing until later on, and that that was a big trigger for him. And they don't like to talk about what happened. I don't like to talk to them about what happened, but on this podcast, it's my job to. I'm sorry, Junior, Steve June, and guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're still my buds. You're still my friends. You know, you're still tight knit. Everything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We just gotta talk about it. Gotta talk about the reports. Gotta talk about the facts. Every single thing that happened. Okay. Um. So Steve McNair had about three children. Two sons, Tyler, Trenton, um, and Steve Latrell McNair Jr. and Stephen O'Brien McNair. Um, all between before he got married. Um, let me make a correction. He did have two children with his wife. Two of those children were with his wife. Two of them were not. Were before he met her. So there's information on that. You can look it up. You can look it up. I'm not going to go into details that's personal. No, no, not going to. Um, so um, Kazemi had a lot of legal issues with her. She was not mentally stable. She was not mentally there. And one day she got a ticket, said it's Steve McNair's car. He had to bail her out. She bought a gun later on, and that gun turned out to be a fatal thing. So yeah. Then we go on to the evening of July 4th or July 3rd. Um, everything spirals out of control. She gets a DUI. She does a lot of drugs. Um, a lot of things go way beyond crazy with her. Steve decides to break it off. She doesn't handle that very well. He ends up staying the night in her condominium, and she sees him. She has a gun. She shoots him 3 or 4 times, twice in the head, and then she lays right down next to him and um, just lays down in his lap while he's asleep dead. And she pulls the trigger on herself. The next day, his buddy comes down, finds them both dead. And word gets out that he was murdered. And then a few days later, the news reports come out saying exactly what happened. Um, and they had to go into a deep, deep um, analysis, investigation as to who she was. Because the family did not know who she was. Um, his business associate did not really know who she was or anything. He thought that got drunk, went to the club, partied it up, was going to be robbed, murder, suicide, something like that. She was the street hook. No, no, they were actually dating. They were actually dating, as it turns out. Um, and that was discovered by text messages and all these other things. There were conspiracies saying that her ex boyfriend decided to do it, but it turns out that he was in a different state at that time, so they had to rule him out. All these different ins- investigations and timelines were going out, and everything matched up with exactly what she did. It was all her. Um, Going down to what we talked about last time with CTE, um, there was, I think there was some concerns about CTE with McNair, but they were very mild and could not be proven, for sure. He was fresh out of retirement, fresh out of the NFL, um, doing his own business ventures. So it was very fresh to see. If they did do a dissection of his brain to see, they may have seen it, and everything else went down after that point. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and I also got some cleaners working around here, so don't worry, don't worry. I'm keeping an eye on them, make sure that they don't leave the door open to let the cats out, and make sure that they don't steal shit. So, um, other than that, um, the big debate with McNair is, should he be in the Hall of Fame? I say yes, he does. He does deserve that right. The problem is exactly what's going on with Chris Benoit, but all those things were at his end of his career. He did nothing wrong criminally. Criminally, he did nothing wrong, from what I've seen and saw from the reports. He's still honored to this day. The only bad thing that I see is that had an affair with a crazy bitch. I mean, what more can I say? That should not deter him from the Hall of Fame. That should just be a lapse in judgment. You know, just a big lapse in judgment on him. Um, that should not deter him from the Hall of Fame. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. He wasn't. Um, he's been in the finalists several times. He has not gone in. He needs to. He does. And I hope that one day the NFL or the Pro Football Hall of Fame sees this and says, "Yeah, we'll put him into consideration here." So next week, hopefully, Classic Mike's here. If he's available tomorrow, we'll do another episode that's wrestling related, and hopefully, it's going to be a little bit longer. I prefer these shorter videos because it gets more views, more traction, everything else. Might like the long videos to go more into detail. Um, so, yeah, 30 minutes for a video is just fine with me. That gives us enough time to actually talk about what we need to talk about and cut the bullshit. So, if he's around, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about July 12th. I believe that's in. Yeah, I believe we'll talk about Saturday Night Main Event, the history of it. We might as well. Next week is July 12th. So, yeah. Saturday Night Main Event. Then talk about non the Hall of Fame, heel versus face. All those things are coming up. Um, Next time they have a Saudi Arabia show, we'll talk about that. Those controversies, because every time they go there, there's some kind of controversy going on. So, yeah, stay tuned. There's stuff coming up, stuff that's not coming up. This has been the Jazzy 8. Thank you and good night.